I love you. I said it. Feels right.
Was anyone out there a fan of Ted and Robin? Really? Was there? Because I have a hard time believing that anyone out there really wanted Ted and Robin to be endgame. Least of all Robin, because my girl spent the entire series both saying and demonstrating to Ted that he was not and would never be her first choice. There's actually no reason in hell that the writer should have ever even considered putting them back together after Robin spelled it out so clearly that she was never a good choice for Ted. And his pursuit of her was always a reflection of the fact that he clearly wasn't as ready for the kind of marriage, family, and life he claimed he wanted because he kept running behind a woman who never wanted those things. And even on the few occasions where she reconsidered wanting any of those things, she was always reconsidering it for another man because she knew she ain't want it with Ted. I say all that to say, if you were really at home rooting for this train wreck of incompatibility, desperation, and persistence, I need you to pause the video and go call the lady. If you've seen any of my other How I Met Your Mother videos, you know that Ted Mosby is a romantic terrorist that I am no fan of. In fact, I'm a certified Ted Mosby hater. And while Ted does a gaggle of women very wrong, the one woman he never did wrong was Robin Scherbatsky. In fact, his undying devotion to doing right by Robin has caused him to do very wrong by many women, Victoria, Stella, and the mother. But the person Ted does dirtiest in the name of loving Robin is his damn self. Ted let Robin have him for a puppy show for decades of his life. There is quite literally nothing Robin could do to this man to make him understand that she does not love him and that he's not who she truly wants to be with. That woman dogged him every which way how, and there was nothing that she could do to stop him from pining over her and dropping any and everything to be with her. And that's all we see from Ted from the first episode of the show to the very last. And it's a damn shame, I tell you. Outside of the fact that Ted was constantly hoping to wrangle her into a life he knew she didn't want, Ted always did right by Robin. She could always count on him to be there for her and to prioritize supporting her over his own interests. I am a Ted hater, but I gotta give him that. This is actually probably a great time to say just how much I love Josh Radnor's performance as Ted. Yes, I know intellectually that Ted is a romantic terrorist, but I would be lying if I said that Josh Radnor didn't make me feel invested in Ted's journey to meeting the mother of his kids. He really made us feel Ted's emotions. To this day, despite being a certified Ted hater, in the episodes where he's trying to find Robin's locket to give to her for a wedding and doing all that narration about his love for her and his pain, your girl shed tears, I'm sorry, shoot you with your big gun. Josh Radnor's performance be making you feel the depth with which he loves Robin. And it's hard not to feel that, even when you know they make no damn sense together. Say what you want, Ted Mosby has had him some amazing monologues about love, but I still can't stand that. And just like I can't stand Ted Mosby, I cannot stand Robin Scherbatsky, but not necessarily for her treatment of Ted. My problems with Robin is that she was an entitled, true pick-me with an inflated sense of self. Robin, I'm not like the other girl, Scherbatsky, was a slave to her internalized misogyny that was brought about as a result of being raised by a misogynist who only wanted a son. She constantly put down other women, stereotyped the out of other women, and sat around watching and assisting men manipulate and trick women into sleeping with them whilst blaming the women and saying they deserved it if they were dumb enough to sleep with men like Barney.
How many boyfriends did you have before you started dating Ted?
I've only had 2. Prude alert. Serious boyfriends. I've dated other guys in between.
Oh, slut alert. Look, if these girls are dumb enough to fall for this crap, they have it coming.
She wasn't only dumb enough to sleep with Barney, she married the but somehow every other woman he been with is a dumb, stupid slut, but she's special. Okay. And all that is in addition to her delusions of grandeur and the way the show constantly makes out to be this talented journalist who deserves to be famous, but keeps being passed up for opportunities. Meanwhile, my girl was a trash journalist who never once demonstrated having any skills bigger than her ego. We saw her video resume reel, which is why she used to be getting jobs that matched her skill level. Yet, she spent all her time being upset that she wasn't already a famous journalist, feeling above her workplace, bullshitting on the job because she thought she was above it, then judging other trash journalists for doing the same raggedy, unprofessional job she be doing. For example, when Robin became disenchanted with working at Metro One and gave up on her career, she started doing all kind of on air, doing crazy challenges Bonnie gave her and all kind of nonsense.
You could get one for only a nipple. I'm a dirty, dirty girl. Ow.
Then seasons later, when she meets Dawn doing the same thing, she's judging him, pump faking like a serious professional who would never be doing bullshit on air like him. Granted, Dawn was walking around the place in this drawers, which absolutely should have had HR or the police called. And just like that was inappropriate, that deciding to do the naked man when Robin, his colleague, invited him in platonically, that should have also landed that behind bars and fired. But again, Robin is a misogynist character written by a man, so she didn't take any issue with it. So let me make sure that I emphasize that the naked man, which was when a man would find an excuse to get into a woman's apartment after a date so that when she'd leave the room, he'd get naked in hopes that she'd feel pressured to sleep with him when she returned, is sexual harassment at minimum. Yet, How I Met Your Mother featured it multiple times in the show like it was some kind of cute, quirky dating trick, when what it was a crime. And they had 4 different men do it on the show. The original nasty Robin went out with and did Barney, Ted, and Dawn. In fact, they had it so that Robin dated and all 4 of the sexual predators who did the naked man. Anyway, what I'm saying is Robin is so clearly a character written by men who believe and want to advance the idea that the dream woman, the most desirable woman, is the one who's attractive and cool because she hates other women too. She won't spoil the fun by calling you out on your misogyny or predatory behavior because she likes being embraced by the guys. But even though she's one of the guys, she's still down to and she might even smash the homies too. So I say all that to say, I have my issues with Robin Scherbatsky, but I don't have an issue with how she treated Ted because she told that man every which way she didn't with him for real. And he willfully signed up for mistreatment over and over again. Literally, it was to the point that when other women would come into Ted's life and try to get him to cut Robin off because his unhealthy relationship with her was holding him back from anything serious with anyone else, Robin would agree with the women. When Ted told Robin that Stella said she shouldn't be at the wedding, Robin agreed. Robin sat in Ted's face and told him Victoria was his best chance at love and he messed it up to cheat with her, knowing she was no good for him. Robin made it clear that if Ted was willing to be her second choice and to overextend himself for her, she would always take advantage of the opportunities. But she never lied to him. He kept choosing that for himself in hopes that she would eventually just accept his love and acquiesce to the life he wanted for them, no matter how many times that gal played the out of him or told him she wasn't interested. So, without further ado, here is how Robin settled for Ted. Roll the theme song, Aaron.
Black independent, strongest in women. It's Olay, it's Olay, it's Olay, it's Olay now. I know that I'm worth it, so make sure to listen. It's Olay, it's Olay, it's Olay, it's Olay.
The moment Ted laid his eyes on Robin Scherbatsky in McLaren's pub, he knew right then and there that he was living for a child, okay? Love at first sight for him. Robin just thought she met a cute guy she'd go on a date with. Meanwhile, Ted busy planning the rest of their lives together. So they go on a date that would have gone well had Ted not decided to tell Robin he was in love with her on the first date.
What?
What?
So she rightfully thought this doing the most and sent him on his way, only for him to return back to her home multiple times that night after she'd sent him home. He returned once to present her with the big blue French horn he stole from the restaurant they'd eaten at that night, and then he returned again and puked on her doorstep. But Robin didn't find out that it was Ted who puked on her doorstep till years later. Robin doesn't call the police on Ted, but she also isn't moved enough by his grand romantic gesture or him declaring his love to date him. In fact, it's precisely why she doesn't want to date him anymore. Robin lets Ted know up front that he is clearly looking for marriage and kids and the whole 9 yards, and she don't want none of that shit, which is spot the on. All Ted talks about is his future wife and children. Meanwhile, Robin don't want to be nobody's wife and she don't want nobody's children, which is precisely why this relationship should have been dead on arrival. But when it comes to Robin, or really any relationship, Ted doesn't give a about how obviously incompatible the relationship is to his stated goals. So he continues doing everything he can to try to force a relationship with this woman who has explicitly told him she does not want the same things as him, nor to date him. Ted went as far as to throw a party every single night till she showed up. This is while his roommate Marshall is a law student who needed to study, mind you, just in hopes that this gal would show up because that's how pressed he is. And it's also how not on his run she is, because this man had to call this gal up every night for 7 nights, telling her he having a party he wanted to come to, and she ain't come through till the very last day. At which point she still wasn't trying to date this. So from there, Ted decides to ingratiate this woman he went on 1 date with before being curved into oblivion into his core friend group that hangs out each and every single night.
Why? Whoa!
Which is genuinely the most unrealistic thing this show ever did, but whatever, child. They are friends for about a year of Ted pining over this gal before she starts to even like this for real. They finally kiss and make plans for Robin to be Ted's date to Claudia and Stuart's wedding, which, by the way, Ted and Stuart really needed their asses beat for. This Ted did not have a +1 to Stuart and Claudia's wedding, but because he won't take Robin, he starts harassing Claudia to let him take her just days before her wedding. Like wedding guests don't cost money per plate and the RSVPs and scene name been done. And when Claudia says no, this goes over her head to Stuart, at which point Stuart's trifling alcoholic ass invites him and breaks up with Claudia over it because Stuart hates Claudia, and she should have taken that opportunity to beat Ted's ass and be done with Stuart. Anyway, Claudia and Stuart get back together and Ted gets his +1, only for Robin to be unable to go at the last minute because she had to work. And it's at that wedding that Ted meets Victoria, becomes infatuated, and he and Victoria start what was supposed to be a serious relationship. And I say what was supposed to be, because they used my gal Victoria as a stepping stone for Robin and Ted to walk all over, because the same Robin that was curving the out of Ted and was friends with him for over a year before she was even on his run for real, suddenly becomes pressed to be with Ted solely because someone else finally wanted him. And she didn't like seeing someone else with what she viewed as her possession, Ted, the human ego booster. Robin is a gal who likes to chase. She wants what feels hard to obtain and maintain and is desired by others, which is why she wanted to be with Barney. Always chose Barney over Ted and only ever really wanted Ted on the few occasions when another woman loved him, like when he was with Victoria or when he was getting married to Stella. So Robin spends the short duration of Ted and Victoria's relationship being nasty to Victoria before ultimately deciding to get Ted to cheat on Victoria with her. And while y'all know that I am a Ted hater and I rightfully kicked his back in for cheating on Victoria in my Victoria video, it's time for Robin to get her lashings too, because I never liked the way this gal consciously decided to bring Ted over for a booty call at 2 a.m, knowing he had a gal, and then spun herself into the victim because Ted subsequently lied about he and Victoria being broken up already after Robin had already consciously called this over to cheat. This gal called his man to come over to her crib at 2 a.m. knowing he have a gal.
It turns out some things are worth preserving. But here's the real question. It's 2 a.m. Your friends are still out singing karaoke, but you're home early. Because you're expecting a call from your girlfriend in Germany who was supposed to call 4 hours ago. And then the phone rings.
Hello?
Hi, Ted, it's Robin. Listen, I know it's late, but, do you want to come over?
What do?
That gal didn't give a about whether he and Victoria were broken up. So the nerve she had to spin it like Ted wronged her so deep. Oh my God. Sure. Ted lied and he didn't need to lie because Robin brought him over there to cheat in the first place. So yes, he ain't shit and neither is she. So she could miss me with this whole she mad at Ted bullshit she was on after he and Victoria do actually break up when she realizes they weren't already broken up. But Ted don't have no backbone. So he let her play the victim for a little while before they ultimately get together. And they date for a year before it all comes crashing down when, drum roll please, Robin does not want married children to settle down or to even be living in one place or anything Ted wants, like she told that in the beginning. Matter of fact, before the breakup, they actually decided to live together. But when Ted tries to actually move in, Robin didn't want to make any room for this place to the point that within the day of him moving in, Ted has to move right back in with Marshall because Robin does not with Ted the long way. And Ted goofy ass tried to make it seem like it was a mutual decision, like they both realized they weren't ready to move in yet. Sure, buddy. And I want y'all to keep this incident in mind because we're going to come back to it to prove that it was Robin who just didn't want to live with Ted and to illustrate the difference between how they feel about one another and how Ted always shows up for Robin and never vice versa. But once Robin and Ted finally break up when they realize for the millionth time that they want different things, this time urged along by Lily, Robin goes on vacation and comes back with Enrique Iglesias to flaunt all in Ted's face. Things are weird between them until Thanksgiving when they backslide and hook up, but they don't get back together. Ted starts dating Stella and Robin sleeps with the sexual predator bestie of Ted Mosby, her ex-boyfriend and alleged best friend that she knows loves her to death. But speaking of predators, today's sponsor Aura helps protect you from them. Ha! You see what I did there? If you've ever wondered how scammers get your phone number or why your inbox is flooded with spam, it's because these companies called data brokers be selling your data. They don't care about no kind of consent, just making billions selling your private information to scammers, stalkers, and criminals, child. And while they are legally required to remove your information if you ask, they intentionally make the process as confusing and difficult as possible, which is why your girl uses today's sponsor, Aura. They take care of the hard part by automatically removing my info off of all these sites and making sure it stays off. So if you haven't been taking precautions with your personal information online before, today is the day to start because you are never more vulnerable online than you are right now. Aura will alert you if they find your phone number, email, or social security number on the dark web. They're going to let you know fast if anyone tries to use this information to access your credit or bank accounts, and they're going to provide you with 20 24/7 monitoring to help keep your identity safe, a secure VPN, antivirus, password manager, and more, as well as around-the-clock US-based support. And if anything does happen, Aura gives you up to $5 million in identity theft insurance should the worst-case scenario happen. So don't be vulnerable to these hackers. Go to my link, aura.com/Illuminati, to try 14 days for free. That's all the time Aura needs to find out if any of your personal data is exposed. So again, go to aura.com/Illuminati to start protecting your information, or click the link in the description below. Thank you for sponsoring Aura. Now back to the video. Let me tell y'all something. I too be letting the offense of Robin and Barney hooking up rock because I really like Barney and Robin together. And I definitely like Barney and Robin together more than I like Ted and Robin together. But this was truly friendship destroying up shit they did to Ted. Oh my God. Robin is not no random gal Ted dated. Robin is the gal Ted is madly in love with. If we don't give Ted nothing, we gotta give him that. They did him wrong with this one. And don't get me wrong, I was still very annoyed with how Ted handled it, because just like Robin managed to walk out of the Ted cheating on Victoria scenario like she was a victim, she moved very similarly in the hooking up with Barney scenario, because this gal Barney, and then she and Barney decided that they weren't going to tell Ted, only for Robin to unilaterally decide she's going to tell Ted on her own so she could seem like the one coming to tell him the truth. And don't get me wrong, Ted is factually right to cut Barney off for this, because that's some foul shit to do, because as Ted essentially put it, you get the 1 million random bitches and you still got the gal I love? But I was still annoyed with Ted, because he round the place mad as at Barney, but still creased right up under Robin, because he don't have no trouble cutting off one of his best friends, but he can't find the strength to remove Robin trifling ass from his life no matter what she do. It was also extra nuts, because he was doing all this carrying on about Barney and Robin while he was knee-deep in the relationship with Stella that he muscled her into. We don't criticize Ted enough for the way he be wasting bitches' time knowing he's still in love with Robin. If you never doubted how Robin felt about Ted, understand that she don't love nor respect that man to Barney, and that's that on that. But because she only likes Ted whenever another woman appears to be in love with him and it seems like he might really move on, once he gets serious with Stella, all of a sudden she has feelings for him again, which she tells him on his wedding day when he tells her that Stella didn't want exes at the wedding, and Robin says she agrees with Stella and that it is weird to have exes there because she's not just a regular friend, because she does have feelings for Ted. But Ted tells her he's getting married, only for Stella to leave him anyway. But Robin and Ted still don't get back together. Instead, what happens is she moves back to New York City after quitting her job in Japan, and she doesn't have a place to live, so Ted lets her move in since Marshall and Lily had already moved out by this point. Now, here is a perfect opportunity to illustrate the difference between how Ted feels about and shows up for Robin versus the other way around. When Robin and Ted were a literal couple who decided to move in together after a year of dating, after having Ted pack up all his belongings, put it in a moving van, and drive it to a place, my girl could not bring herself to let him move in for a day. She couldn't do a day. But when she's not even Ted's girlfriend anymore, and she's already broken his heart a couple times, Ted opens his home to her without hesitation, proving that it was never Ted who wasn't ready for them to move in. It was never a mutual decision. All of it was Robin just not wanting to make space for Ted in her life and her home, because Robin did not want what she knew would come with taking that kind of step with Ted. But she has no problem mooching off of Ted and taking advantage of his love and hospitality when it's to advantage, which is something Marshall later on brings up in the show when he makes her move out. So she moves in, and then once she moves in, she and Ted start butting heads until they decide to start casually sleeping together to prevent them from fighting, which is just more proof that the only reason they didn't move in together was because Robin didn't want him in her house and the commitment she knew Ted would push for if he was her live-in boyfriend.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Because it's not that Robin doesn't care about Ted at all, or that she doesn't have any feelings for him. She just doesn't with him the long way. She does not and has never truly wanted anything truly serious with Ted. That's why she's fine with being his roommate friends with benefits type of situation, but not them living together as a couple. But she moved in with Dawn and she moved in with Barney when she dated them. But this friends with benefits thing is short-lived, because Ted slips into his old habits and kisses Robin as he's leaving for work. Not as a friends with benefits would, but as a boyfriend would. They decide to end it, but they backslide again until ultimately Ted realizes that Barney has feelings for Robin and them hooking up was driving him insane, so he stops. Now look, so I don't really like to make a habit of deciding that Ted is wholesale lying or that we can't entirely trust his account of things, because that would make it really hard to objectively analyze any events in the show if we could throw it all out as Ted lying. But there are times when Ted twisting the facts feels very plausible, and this is one of those times to me. I do not really buy Ted being so selfless about Barney's feelings in this instance. I think it would be more likely that Robin would have ended things when she realized Ted was catching feelings again, because we know she's not on Ted's run for real at this point, because she and Barney been catching feelings for each other, and shortly after this, she and Barney become a full-blown couple. So I could see Ted just rewriting it into, oh, he ended the friends with benefits thing with Robin to be a good friend to Barney, just so he could cope with the pain and rejection. But that's just my fan theory, yeah? So shortly after Ted and Robin conclude their friends with benefits thing, Robin and Barney start dating, but they struggle as a couple before breaking up. And I'm gonna fast forward a little bit, but I would be remiss if I didn't point out how sad Ted be going out, because tell me why this man was teaching Barney how to be a better boyfriend to the woman he in love with.
Shame.
Pathetic child, oh my God. After Robin and Barney break up, she starts dating the man I truly believe she would have chosen to be with had he not left her, and who was a much better fit for her than Barney or Ted, and that's Dawn. And I know she would have chosen Dawn over them, because the moment Dawn told her that he wasn't truly comfortable with their friendships anymore, because those two lemons clearly wanted to be with her still, my girl put the kibosh on kicking it with them. Unlike Ted could ever bring himself to do when Stella and Victoria acts the same of him. But when Dawn takes a job offer in Chicago and he and Robin break up, Robin moves back in with Ted, and she throws herself at him because she's sad and wants to feel wanted by the person she knows wants her the most. But Ted loves Robin too much to take advantage of her when she's that vulnerable, so he turns her down. Then, in yet another example of Ted's love for Robin and how much he believes in her, he pushes her to take a job at the Worldwide News so she could actually try and work for the success she's been expecting to just fall into her lap. And while at the Worldwide News, Robin meets Nora, who in turn meets and begins dating Barney, at which point Robin becomes pressed for Barney again, because the same way she suddenly needed to be with Ted as soon as he got with Victoria, so too did she suddenly need Barney because he was with Nora. So much, in fact, that she was actively trying to sabotage their relationship and trying to get him to cheat on Nora with her.
Lady, you are evil.
Because that's exactly the type of time Robin was on when Ted was with Victoria. Don't never let this gal swing you. If there's one thing Robin Schabotsky ain't, it's a girl's girl. Robin actively be wanting to take bitches' mind just to feel better than them. So anyhow, in the course of trying to do to sabotage Barney and Nora's relationship, in order to undo a plan she put into motion, she ended up assaulting a girl, which landed her in court-mandated therapy, at which point she meets her next boyfriend, her therapist Kevin. But Robin cheats on Kevin with Barney, and Barney cheats on Nora. But despite claiming to love Barney, and she and Barney both agreeing to break up with Kevin and Nora to be together, only Barney breaks up with Nora, and Robin does not break up with Kevin, because again, that gal only be wanting to prove she could have these back if she wanted them. That's what be driving her. If another woman ain't in the picture, she is perfectly content playing games with them and refusing commitment. But as soon as another woman loved them, now she's pressed. So Barney and Nora break up, and Kevin and Robin get briefly engaged, but they break up when Robin reveals to him that she not only recently learned that she can't have children, she also doesn't want them, period. No adoption, no nothing. And you know who shows up to not only comfort Robin through her breakup, but to declare his love for her yet again? Ted Mosby. Despite the fact that all Ted has ever wanted is a wife and children, when Robin informs her that she can't have kids, he still tells her he loves her and wants to be with her. And although Robin initially kisses him back before having to immediately leave for Russia for a work trip, when she returns, she painfully tells Ted what we all been knew. She is not in love with him. She cares about him, yeah, sure, but she does not, and she has never reciprocated the kind of feelings that Ted has for her.
Do you love me?
No.
Despite this, when Ted gets another opportunity with Victoria, he still can't bring himself to remove Robin from his life to actually give them a chance. Despite Robin literally telling this his best bet at happiness was to pursue Victoria, and that pursuing her had been the wrong choice. In fact, Robin read Ted down. They were literally in the hospital waiting room after Lily gave birth, and Ted was doing his usual bullshit where he swears that all he wants is what Lily and Marshall have, and Robin finally decided to clock this tea.
Because as your friend, I have to tell you, full of crap. You say you want a family, you say you want to meet the one, but you are always chasing the wrong women. Look at the women you date, starting with me. I told you right away I didn't want marriage or kids. Stella had a child with another man who she still loved. Zoe was married and trying to sabotage your career. Name one exception.
Victoria. Victoria was great.
Exactly. And you threw it all away to chase after some hot piece of ass. Victoria is the only woman you've dated who could have been the one.
And clock his tea, she did. She ain't told not one lie, which is why there is absolutely no reason under the sun there was any more Ted and Robin after she spelled the facts out so clearly here. Yet, When Ted finally gets back together with Victoria, he refuses to cut off Robin, so Victoria breaks up with him. And from there, Robin goes on to eventually get back together with and engage to Barney, who also had to invoke her jealousy over him being with another woman to get her to commit to him. And still, Ted is pining over Robin, bending over backwards trying to figure out how to get her locket she lost for her something old for her wedding. This man got on a plane and flew to California to search Stella, the woman who left him at the altar storage unit for it. That's how pressed he was to get a gift to his ex that's marrying his best friend. But despite all his love for Robin and all the little moments he expressed it to her prior to the wedding, she still marries Barney because Robin was always willing to do all the things with Barney she had no desire to do with Ted. Move in, get engaged, get married, all that. And Ted meets the mother at Robin and Barney's wedding, and they live happily ever after for all of 2 seconds till the show kills her off, breaks Barney and Robin up, and ends with Ted's children saying, "We realize you told us this entire story about Aunt Robin under the guise of talking about how you met our dead mother because you obviously want to be with Aunt Robin." At which point, instead of joining hands and stomping their father out, they give Ted their blessing to go make another grand declaration of love to his best friend's now ex-wife. And the show ends with Ted showing up to Robin's house with the blue French horn and her grinning, seemingly willing to be with him now that she's literally not doing shit else. Because at this point, Barney done left her because he wasn't happy anymore, and she's now in her elder years. My girl quite literally had to have done absolutely everything else she wanted to do before she even considered settling for Ted. What a bunch of I love How I Met Your Mother, but the writers know that they had some nerve. Justice for the mother and justice for our time they wasted. Y'all should subscribe to the Patreon. I put, for the people who want to hear me doing all my cursing, we put the uncensored versions of every recap on the Patreon. So do that.